Welcome to Toffee TV. This is the daily live extra. It's a new week. It's a new week. 2 games, 2 away games this week. Yay.
3 in 8 days. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Yes, hoping for some movement in the transfer window because we need a centre forward desperately. But Frank Lampard was asked about it in the press conference on Saturday night. Let's just hear what he has to say.
No, nothing to say.
That's something that you clearly made clear that you obviously need.
Yeah.
Well, very short and sweet. But he was asked anything happening. He said no, and he asked does he want one, and as he told them he wants one, and he said yes. So, and it's so obvious from the way the 3 games have gone so far that Everton just can't play without having that focal point up front and having someone who keeps centre-backs occupied and allows other players to play.
Yeah, well, we haven't got other strikers. We haven't got wide forwards who get you goals. It's as simple as that. You know, Gray scored a great goal at the end, and his first touch was magnificent, and it was a great finish, but it's not like we're prolific in those wide areas. You know, you can quote, I've seen Frank quote a couple of times, you know, Liverpool don't play, well, Liverpool do, but Man City have to, and it's like, that's great, and you're absolutely right, Frank, but Man City have like 5 who can comfortably get 15 plus, and now, ironically this season they've got Haaland, who's fantastic, but they've done it because they've got players who get lots of goals elsewhere as well. But the problem with Everton doing it is when you go through our team, the midfield 2 on Saturday who I thought were very good, to be fair, and people are probably fuming now because I've said Tom Davies was good, because he was.
That was a terrible sub.
Yeah,
terrible
but
sub.
But Iwobi was brilliant.
Yeah, he was.
But those 2 lads might get 2 goals between them in the season. I've said it the other day, Damari Gray might get half a dozen. Anthony Gordon might get 4 or 5. Rondon might get 1 if we're lucky. That's it. The Patterson's just in his infancy in his Premier League career, and he's looked good, quite good. Michalenko might get 1 last year, and then you're relying on centre backs. That adds up to about 15 goals, and yet, like lots of other teams, wide players get 15 goals. So there's a huge issue with Everton in that. I actually, and you probably disagree, and other people might disagree as well, because I know there's huge negativity around Everton. That's fine. I actually think we looked way better than we were last season, like miles better. We look like we've got a structure. We look like we're playing some nice football. The problem is, when it gets into the business end of the pitch, there's nothing there. They run out of ideas. On Saturday, I was fuming because the amount of space on the edge of their box, and we shot about twice in the first half. Anthony Gordon hit a cracker, which Henderson saved. Tom Davies hit one just wide. It was like that was on every time. Every single time that was on. And we chose not to do it. Second half, Dwight McNeil had one where he got it out of his feet, and I'm thinking, do what he did against Kiev, just test the goalkeeper, check back and look for a pass wide. And that's okay if you've then got Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the middle who's going to, be attacking the crosses or whatever. We go wide to come back, and it's like that kind of thing just winds me up, because we cut them open to the point where we were on the edge of the box, but it just dries up on the edge of the box. And Frank Lampard can sit there, and I'm not having a go with him, because he's battling with everything else that's going on, but I don't think you can sit there and say, well, we don't really need one. And it was good to hear him on that clip actually saying, yeah, I have. And if we all believe that he's not, and the club aren't desperately looking to fill that, then we're all very naive, because of course they are. The problem is it's not going quick enough for us. Quite clearly they're hanging on for Brozier, but they are looking in other areas as well, because they want to, and that's just a fact, they want to. But it's like the thing now, isn't it? And I know you said, well, do it and just have the guarantee at the back end. It's probably right, but we're going, are we going to sell Anthony Gordon? Well, if we can get this player and this player. Do it anyway, and then if you have to, sell Anthony Gordon on the 30th of June, like we did with Richarlison. Yeah. Because we've already written 3 games off. Everton, I looked on the Justice League, and Everton on the XG and all that should have just under 3 points for the games, and I think that's about right. I think 3 draw. I thought we should have won Saturday, but on the other 2 games we might have nicked a point. But you're looking at those games that have gone by so far. We could have got 4-5 points out of that game.
Leeds showed yesterday what a bright attacking unit can do against Chelsea on the day. Just because of the
obviously had a huge amount of luck for the
no,
first
I know
goal.
what I'm saying. No, if
But,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that, it'll they're not. Chelsea have conceded 5 goals in the 2 games they've played since we played them.
And we had chances against them, didn't
no, we did, and that's the difference, isn't it? I think Saturday for the first 20 minutes we were really, really bright, and all it needed was a goal. And if we'd got the first goal, I think we would have been very, very comfortable.
We had after about 70. I mean, the lad should have been booked, by the way. Has the rules
the rule hasn't changed, and this has happened 2 weeks in a row.
If
you
you
got
pull
someone's shirt, that's a booking,
isn't it?
Booking.
Because he got booked for doing the same thing about 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't have been on the pitch. But we had that free kick after 80 seconds, and Tom Davis and
Tom
someone else, the 2 of them missed it. Gray put it in, he were on their own.
I know.
And it's like, why are we reacting so late? That would have been 1-0. If we'd have got the first goal, we might have gone on and won the game. But we said this the other week, you're relying, when you haven't got strikers, you're relying on nicking something at you and hoping you can defend.
Well, I think, whether people agree or not, I think Rondon showed exactly what we need on Saturday in both ways. He showed he's not good enough, but he also showed the difference of having a centre forward on the pitch and how it keeps centre back. The minute we took Rondon off on Saturday, they stepped forward 10 yards.
No.
Because they had no one to play up against, because Dwight McNeil wants to drop into the gap because he's not a centre forward, and therefore it allowed them a lot more time, and they started to, and obviously because we have no midfield as well, we had a Wobie, but with Tom going off and Onana coming on and deciding it was a rugby match and not a football match, suddenly found this big hole in the middle of the park as well, and that allowed them just to step up, and it showed you can get a decent centre forward who understands how to pin people back. Then seeing Welbeck playing for Brighton, not scoring goals, but what he's doing, he's moving, he's running in behind, he's creating space for the other players. That kind of thing where you Damari Gray and Gordon at the moment, you don't like they'd be able to exploit that. But if you don't have a centre forward who understands that movement and bringing players into the game, then you're going to be in for an issue. And as you mentioned there, this team isn't blessed with loads of goals. And I do agree the general play is better. It has an idea. Still, I'm still not. Don't understand why the wing backs don't get as high as they possibly can. It is.
I think one does, but the other one doesn't. We're lopsided.
It's like Michalenko has no idea how to play it, and it's like on the other side, Patterson knows exactly how to play it, and yet we don't give the ball to Patterson as much as maybe at times we give it.
Is there a case, and this might be stupid, but is there a case at the moment for putting Michalenko as the third centre back?
No, I'd take Michalenko out the team.
And put
I don't think he's very good.
I think he's solid. I think he's solid.
But solid's not good enough.
No, but he might be doing this is Carlo Ancelotti's tactic, is that when you're playing that,
No, I get
one
that.
One is high and the other one
I know,
makes
but the
it
problem
a
is
four.
that Michalenko doesn't go forward, and Patterson's not a very good defender. So when you switch it the other way round, it doesn't work. So I'd be tempted to have a little look at Varane in games. Why not?
He's going to play tomorrow, isn't he?
Why not for the last 10 minutes? Bring him on and say, well, we're going to try
We
something.
did against Chelsea, didn't we?
No, we're going to try something a little bit different. So,
were you surprised he didn't? Me and my best mate were talking about this in the car on driving home, and he was fuming that we didn't go to a back four with like 20 minutes to go and sight it before they scored and try to win the game. But it's like you're messing with too much of the team.
Well, no, because that's got to be part of your remit, hasn't he? It's got part. He did it at Villa.
No, I know.
He did it at Villa to try and get a point. So why not do it at home
to try and win it?
Because
they went I'm not being disrespectful to Forest, but they went really a
threat.
Crap. No, but they weren't a threat, were they?
No, they were
so
crap.
with 20 minutes to go, I don't even pick for that. A save he made in the first half. One was a back pass, which was comfortable, and that was Tarkovsky for some reason thinking he could dribble out from the back. And I think he had one more save to make.
He pushed it wide. The lad on from the right.
But other than that, they offered nothing, did they? And they had their best spell actually around the goal. But they offered nothing up to that point, and we were almost playing with 5, and we didn't need to. It's why I think if you'd have played 3 in midfield, personally, I'd have left Tom Davis in there. I'd have put an Onana on with a Wobie and said, right, you two, go and join in. Tom Davis, stay where you are, because we've got that framework with Cody and Tarkovsky speaking to him. It was mopped up. It was we would have had 4, and you could have said to Michalenko, if you didn't want to bring Vinagre on, play higher, and let's get people in the box.
Problem is
because that took Gordon off.
That's not good enough. The problem is, You're asking your wing backs to be the width, and they're not the width. So where's the space for the other players to go out wide then? Then if they're not pushing forward, then you're in a 5. You're not we could have comfortably been.
I've been saying for weeks, for a couple of weeks, haven't I? 3-5-2. If we've decided that we're playing 3 at the back with the 2 wide plays, we have to play 3-5-2 because you're absolutely right. You've got wing backs looking for space, and yet you've got 2 lads stood in front of them. So, and then there's one on his own. And I mean, can we all just say now Dwight McNeil isn't a centre forward? I honestly don't understand what that's. I don't know whether I don't know, but I don't know what that substitution was. I really don't understand it.
I thought personally, people might disagree with me. I thought that sub completely changed the game in terms of. I thought at that stage we were very comfortable building up play. I thought
there was only one winner.
I tell you one. I think Frank took the easy way out in taking Tom Davies off. No one will complain if Tom comes off, and yet Tom was our holding midfield, allowing Iwobi to do what he wants. And you're absolutely right. Bring Onana in the mix in a 3. So what you're saying to me is your raw lad. I'd have waited maybe 10 more minutes for Onana. But as soon as Onana comes on, he wants takes away loose on the ball. He wants that extra second, and you've seen it when he got robbed for the ball. He wants that extra. Not going to get in the Premier League, and he'll learn that. Of course you will. He's a good footballer.
Reminds me of Fellaini. When Fellaini started, there was a little bit.
You could see he's massively. He's got loads and loads of confidence. And what happened was, as soon as he got booked and nearly got booked again and could have been sent off, he calmed down because what he suddenly realised was he couldn't tackle and everything had to be simple. And really, that should have been the message when he come on the pitch. But if you want him to get a little bit more out of him, don't put him in on a 2. Put him with Tom Davies. Let Tom sit. Let Iwobi in him. Take a Gordon off or whoever and do it that way.
See, take one of the centre backs. What I would have done there if he wanted to keep the 3 was if he wanted to say Rondon was tired, and I get it, but he doesn't really run anyway. He stands in the middle anyway. He doesn't do a lot of work. But if you wanted to do that, because their defence was incredibly slow, and it was. I mean, I like Joe Worrell, but jeez. If he starts turning now, he might get there Saturday. And he'd been booked. And Nico Williams, who's garbage, was booked as well. So what he probably could have done was actually gone, we'll play 3 in midfield and push Gray and Gordon central. Right? And then just said, right, let's turn them. Because once you go past, they can't touch you. And it annoyed me that they were on bookings. And our players didn't isolate them 1v1 and gone, right, let's get on these and let's spin them.
But that to me shows the lack of tactical nous Lampard's got.
Yeah, but he's got a coaching team there that won the European Cup.
I know,
but they must have ideas.
You've got to be like, you've got to your in-game management has got to be flexible enough to say, right, take Tarkowski off, he's having a nightmare. Leave Cody in the middle with Holgate, and go forward at the back and say, we're putting 3 midfield and we're going to dominate that area in the pitch, and we will then allow Iwobi to start getting on the ball more and looking to thread those 2 up front in if it is those 2, but pushing to just going like for like and going, we'll take our holding midfielder off, the lad who was basically winning all the bits, who was coming back, and when any of their men had the ball and our centre backs were holding them up, Tom would come in and nick the ball off them and give it to Iwobi and then go. Our centre forward, you're swapping him directly for Dwight McNeil. I'm not even sure where his position is, but I know it's not centre forward.
He started off as a centre midfielder, McNeil, and then has gone. No, but he's got a nice left foot, but he was up against big centre forwards. He's not a big centre back. He's not a centre forward. He's never going to naturally take the ball into his chest and lay it off. So therefore, if you're not playing that way because you haven't got someone who can come on and back in and get hold of it, then what you have to do then is go, right, well, how are we going to play then? Right, we'll spin them then. We'll get them turning with our runners. So, McNeil will probably come into his own when he's got a target to hit in the middle, like Calvert-Lewin, and he can check back on that left foot and get deliveries in. But just right now, I think we've just got to tweak stuff, because
maybe it was the old message to the board.
Nah, listen, I think to be honest, we were in control of the game, and he probably thought the energy of Onana buzzing around will give us that extra little bit, and he might have thought Dwight McNeil drop in the pockets and we might get Gordon
around the back.
It just didn't work. It just, because we had to kind of change the way we were.
But it also didn't work because Onana.
Yeah, and He
got booked.
He was all excited when he
got
was all
booked straight away. You know,
well, Gordon's game changed after with that ridiculous booking.
That's pathetic.
Why didn't he just carry on running with the lad? He'd have caught him. It was just lazy. It was just, he's getting away from me, I'm just going to swipe him.
Well, he started the game.
And then he started the game
all hyped up. And then he run out of Lucasade after 20 minutes. It was, and that tackle was like the signal, wasn't it? It was like, I'll just throw
but it takes away what his best qualities are. Because if he'd have been booked there, he'd know that he does this.
First 20 minutes, he was fine.
We were
First 20 minutes, he was in control of everything, dropping into the pockets on the right hand side, picking the ball up. He should have had about 3 more shots in that first 20 minutes, but he should have. Because this is another massive part of our issue with our game, and it was so noticeable on Saturday. Get to the edge of the box and we slow it down. We just slow it down. We stop literally. There was so many times that we literally stopped, and then we go, what are we going to do now? And that one of the reasons why that is, by the way, is the wing backs not going past. That's so apparent.
But we should be having a shot though.
No.
We should have been having shots. I mean, their goal literally come because the lad just had the pop. And Pickford makes the save, and Johnson's on his own. You know, you've got to do the same kind of thing. You've always get your shots away. If there's no pass on, get a shot away. Let's see what you get from it. Sometimes it takes a huge deflection. Sometimes it lifts someone and Brighton, you've got to tap in. It was just those bits, but we've definitely, and they know it. But it's so frustrating sitting there as a fan watching it. You definitely got to bring in 2 in the final third, however that looks. You know, and whether that is Breuer, I'm gonna call him Breuer, whether it's Breuer and like a winger, or whether it's Breuer and a Che Adams, or whether it's Breuer and Mohamed Kudus. Even though he's more of a midfield player, but he has played up front and he can play wide. People who, you know, when you're recruiting, you must be looking around, going, right, what, like, where are they? Where's the goals? Let's look for lads who are consistent goal scorers in these areas of the pitch. Because if you're scoring, you mightn't translate. You might get 15 in Holland, and you might only get 5 or 6, 7 here. But you're used to putting the ball in the net. Yet we're buying players who get 4 here, or 3, or 2, and then relying on them. So it's really, really difficult. And when Everton have only got a small pot of money to work with, it obviously is very difficult. But it's frustrating because when you're watching it, you know, I was sat there Saturday thinking, imagine if we had this structure and we had Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison still with this structure, with these players. I think we'd be sound. I really do. And I know it's ifs and buts, and people will rightly say, well, we haven't got them, so get on with it. I get it. I do get it. But it's when you're looking, you see other teams who've got average strikers, but the strikers, and they know where to run, and they get, you know, it's hugely frustrating when you watch it, because you can see that with a good striker, we might be all right. Because there's lads out there who know how to play the role. There's lads out there who will get goals. You know, it's about going to get them. Gary says hello. Tom says Cooper changed to 2 defensive midfield with 2-10 just ahead of them, and we stay with it too. How Frank didn't react to 4v2 in centre midfield. Not gonna lie, it worried me. We don't really see coach miss things at this level. 5-2-3 is awful. It is, Tom. That's why I'd be 3-5-2. I just don't get, unless you've got 3 lads who you can't leave out because they're all goal scorers, why are you trying to force 3 lads up into that top area of the pitch? And the striker's always isolated, even though we have 3 up there. So play 2. Say to your wing backs, get as high as you can, and say to your 3 centre midfield players, dominate this game and break into the box. You still have the same numbers. It's not like you've got, I can understand it to a certain extent when you've got Calvert-Lewin in the middle, because then what you're saying is get wide and get deliveries in, and he'll win it. He'll win the headers, and then whoever's coming in back post pick the bits up. But we haven't. We've got no focal point. So why are we playing with players wide? You got to have elements of control as well, haven't you? And you've got to be able to control the game, build the play up, and then get the ball in there. And I don't really think the makeup of the team quite has that. You know, there's a pattern of play, you know, and I think Iwobi in the midfield is really helping us
hold the ball and create things. But once it gets into that final third, like you just said, then those two play. Gray and Gordon they just pick the ball up and essentially just run, don't they? They don't really. There's no real thought pattern of what they're gonna do. And don't get me wrong, Gray's goal was great, but that's him. Instinctive first touch, goal, instinctive stuff. When they get the ball in those areas and they have to come inside, they haven't really got an idea of mental picture of what they're gonna do. Do you know what I mean? How many times though? Know what annoys me? Remember when we played Hull? Remember was it the first goal we scored? Gray picked the ball up, give it to Gordon. Gordon gives it back to him, and he's in and he puts it in. It's that idea that's how you want them working together. And that night, I know it was against Hull, but the combination play between them was lovely. But you never really see that. Gray picks the ball up and Gordon does the same, and they're never looking to give it to someone to get it back. You know, and there's never that those intelligence levels. It's where am I going to run? Where's the space? And that's fine for some teams who open up, create their own space, but I think they're just... And I understand it's a work in progress, but it's really difficult when you haven't got that centre forward to move the centre-backs around.
I still think we got in the second half 3 or 4 times down their right-hand side. We were faced them up in the box with the ball, and 2 or 3 times they went past the full-back, and I thought, just roll it across the box, and he didn't. He turned and come back out, as if like they're starting again. It's like, get half a yard, fire it across with your left foot, get runners into the penalty area. But we'll see what happens. Thomas says, visiting Nan and Lake Vinwala, Malaga for 2 weeks, happy days, even Everton can't drag me down. That's right, Thomas, enjoyed the break. Simon says, afternoon, everyone. If we could have had a couple of forwards in at the start of the season, I think we'd be unbeaten. Play is better, but no focal point is killing us. Yeah, good point, Simon. Gaz says, past the noon deadline, so that means game number 4 with no striker. Getting stupid. Now, if it goes to 6 games, heads need to roll. We have already threw away at least 4 points, in my opinion, as I believe we'd have 2 draws and a win with a striker. Owen says, what's happening with Kudus? Would have been very good. Addition, travels with the ball once in 5 from midfield, young, dynamic, spot on. Well, what's happening is there's no deal being agreed. It's just, that's what's happening. The minute a deal is agreed, then he'll be here, won't he? If it does get agreed, their manager doesn't seem to want to let him go.
Do you think the club jumped the gun on Friday night then, and maybe should have been a little bit more quiet about the situation?
The club jumped the gun?
Well, they've obviously briefed the press on putting the story out. So
I don't know if they have.
Well, it sounds like they have. I mean, for a whole lot of journalists to know what's going on a Friday night, and it does sound like the club have briefed them. They haven't all just made it up themselves, have they? It must have come from somewhere. Can only be the club.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. You can't jump a gun if you've got no agreement signed, and there was no agreement signed on Friday.
So where's it?
There was no agreement signed Saturday morning.
So where's it come from?
Don't know. His agent, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Their manager yesterday was adamant he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and he said he knew nothing about it. So it's a bit of a strange one.
But yesterday, Alan May said that nothing had changed. So
I'm not saying Everton could get the deal done right this second. He's a good player who we looked at before he went to Ajax. Actually, he's strong and runs well with the ball. You know, he's the kind of play you want in your squad. But I think 8-9 million was mentioned, which isn't a huge amount of money. So we'll have to see. Lawson just says, feel like Frank's downfall, be sticking to 5 at the back. It doesn't work with our players. Myers says, hello fellas, a draw against Forest at home just isn't acceptable, I'm afraid. And of course Brennan Johnson had to score, didn't he? Frank extremely tactically naive in all 3 games, and his persistence with this system is quite worrying. Club is at failure for not bringing a striker in quick enough, but Lampard surely has to come under some scrutiny as well. Okay. Lee says, really concerned as this is worrying now. The mentality of basically writing off this first batch of games is pathetic. I can't understand the approach by the club. Need strikers in now, not September the 1st. Danny says, poor result but decent performance, I think. No clue why some are overreacting. Saturday the first time I saw the idea with this 3-4-3 system. Gordon and Gray both finding great pockets of space and influencing the play a lot. The trouble with them two is they're both so wasteful. Rondon didn't pull up any trees, but his presence alone helped the team so much. It all went to pot once him and Davies came off. As much as I'd love to see a midfield 3, I'd stick with this system and recruit it with it in mind. A big number 9 and an inside forward who can score goals, and we'd be absolutely comfortable this season. Fair play. I don't like the formation, I'll be honest. I don't mind. Like I say, 3-5-2 I can live with, because you've got two people, two people working up there and putting the defence under pressure. Your width should come from your wing backs, and 3 midfield can eat anything up. I think the way we play it with 2 centre midfield players, I don't like it personally. I don't think you get anyone breaking, and we haven't got lads who score goals in the wide areas. So Kev says I'd really love this Tony link to be true. I reckon he comes in for me. Dom goes in the summer, but probably highly unlikely. Really need the board and Thelwell to pull their fingers out and get him what we need. If not, Everton are in massive trouble. For me, an absolute brainer. Gordon must be sold, and we must rebuild our forward line. But can we trust the club that thought bringing Dwight McNeil was a good idea? Probably not. Professor Poopy Pants says this morning the Guardian reports Leandro Trossard has a year left on his deal.
2, only.
And immediately Twitter reports Everton interest. He's 27 and not prolific. Should we be interested?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think he's what we need. I think we need a centre forward. What's your take on the Gordon stuff? Because obviously we were away last week.
In terms of what?
Would you sell him?
I think he'll go.
But would you sell him?
If it got to 50, yeah.
See, I'd wait for 65, because I think they'd pay, because I think they're stupid.
Well, maybe, but I don't. The reason why I'm saying is in these situations. Someone asked me this the other day, and it's very simple. Anyone can bid for a player at a club. Anyone, without really knowing whether you've got a chance of getting him or whether he's interested. The minute you bid twice, or you inquire and then you up your bid, the player is interested. If the player's not interested, it'd be over.
Well, we saw the thing last week, didn't we? The agent on Ferdinand's podcast, that's basically talking. Well, he used Holgate as an example, but he was basically just telling you how a deal works. And if you're bidding, you're 3/4 into a deal, basically, aren't you? So from he was telling from an agent's point of view, but that shows. I mean, ultimately, someone said about this last week. Why would you blame Andy Gordon for going to Chelsea? Why would you blame him? I wouldn't blame him. He's 21, wants to go and win things. It's a short career. That's life.
But the way I look at it, you never want to sell players you've come through. Of course you don't, and you never want to sell potential, and that's what he is. And he was brilliant for us last season in terms of enthusiasm, and he gave us a lift when we needed it. But if Everton were going after Anthony Gordon for £50 million, looking at his goals and that, I'd be fuming. I'd be going, that's just not what we need. Nice footballer, but that's not what we need. So if you look at it that way, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here going chasing right this second, but if Everton get offered 50 plus million, that money is huge to the football club. I said this the other week. We shouldn't be in a position where we have to think about selling them. Of course we shouldn't, because we've wasted so much money. We should never have spent £500 million and have Salomon Rondon as our only option as a striker.
And then our backup striker is Dwight McNeil.
It should never have been the case. So £50 million, Everton theoretically could transform the team with it. If they're not going to sell him, fine, come out and just say it's not going anywhere, and we're getting this player and this player.
My issue,
but I think they will sell.
People can agree if they or different. I see not selling them to me screams not well run club though, as well. Because what I mean by that is Everton, the position they're in, or any position you're in, if someone comes in with a £50 million bid for a player who's done absolutely nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing, because he hasn't done anything.
No.
Then Everton should be like, we've got 3 or 4 there ready to come in, bite their hand off for that money. To me, that's what a well-run club would do. Maybe that's where you want to be a year down the line. It's too early. But that's, for me, I think you should be. We've said it a million times. To be a well-run club, you should know when to sell your players and when to reinvest that money and bring it back into the... Now, it might be that it is a little bit early for him, with him only being 21 and being in the team for the last year or so, but we've got to be careful here that we don't get to a point where we do sell him, but it's too late.
No.
That's the point, isn't it? We've got to sell him at the right... If we're going to sell him, you can't just sit there for a week and just not answer the phone and think that, we'll keep hold of this lad. If he wants to go and Chelsea want him, then they'll get him. So Everton have got to be prepared to know when that decision has to be made. Otherwise, you're left with £50 million in your bank, great, and no player. And we know what we need, obviously. So
it's a tough one, because you never, like I've just said before, you never like selling players like Anthony Gordon who've come through and you want to see them develop. Will Anthony Gordon ever be worth more than £50 million?
That's the question.
That's the question. I don't know. He might go to Chelsea and be brilliant.
But if he goes to Chelsea, he'll get time, won't he? He'll be. They won't be relying on him in the first year.
Playing the Champions League as a sub, and he'll be
playing with better
FA Cup,
playing with better
players. Don't know. We'll see. But you're right. You don't want to leave it so late that you can't actually reinvest the money, and then you've left a big hole in your squad as well, because no one's replaced him who gives you that energy the way he does, or travels with the ball. And Everton might have deals lined up in a situation where you think, right, if we do get him, or if we sell him, we can get A, B and C, and they'll come in and replace him. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Vinagre is a wing back, Miko isn't, says Grey Lead. Richard says, afternoon gentlemen, and Ned, to be honest, I don't trust them to get a striker in at all this window. They've somehow managed to drain all of the enthusiasm out the fan base, and me 3 weeks into the season. What the hell are they playing at? Grace says, what was Pickford doing in that match at all? He got let off at least 3 times by saving a shot from his left palm and the ball away to his right into the danger zone. All Brennan Johnson did was realise this and wait for the similar shot. Watch the replay, he knows it's going to happen and runs behind everyone. Just wait. Disgusting, to be honest. Jay says, hey lads, just a deviation. Who else held their hands in disbelief yesterday when Trippier's red card was changed to a yellow? Yeah, it's absolute nonsense, Jay, but they're the darlings now, aren't they, because of the money. It was way worse than Alan's, like way worse, like miles worse than Alan's. But that's what you're up against in WWE. Luce says, bad from everyone involved to basically tweet that we'd signed Kudus. I wonder if the club was jumping the gun. If so, why are they even leaking the info in the first place? It's if Everton have leaked it or briefed those people, it was done when it clearly wasn't done. Then the club have. It's pathetic from the club if they have. I'm not convinced they have, but if they have, then it's pathetic. Dean says Mikalenko's average position on Saturday was further up the pitch than Patterson's. We just need the midfield to move the ball to these players quicker. Yeah. I like I say, the 5-2-3 in my opinion doesn't work. It's poor. Mike says, honestly, I'm bored of this season already. Can't get myself interested in it. Same old crap for the best part of 30 years. I'm just fed up. It is mad that we can't just create even an average team that like scores goals and attacks teams and wins games. Even if it doesn't win trophies, it's just like, it is berserk. It's berserk. It's berserk that on a recruitment level, you can't realise that goals are the thing that wins you games. And I know they're working away trying to solve it, but it should have been an ongoing thing anyway. That team last season had no goals in it. Without Richarlison, so because Don was injured, so it should be an ongoing thing. Gary says we have to bring in someone who can put the ball in the net, and we need to do it now. Carl says a central striker is clearly needed, but it isn't the sole answer. We also need a replacement for Richie and a winger capable of scoring and creating. I don't have any confidence at the moment in the club to find anyone, particularly when you see links to Maupay, and I still can't understand the point of signing McNeil. McNeil was a strange one. It was a strange one when Emmanuel Dennis was there for cheaper and Maxwell Cornet was there for cheaper. Who both have scored goals, but Gray Lead says, I'm not sure where this everything is still rosy narrative is coming from either. That's another 3 points pissed away. We bought McNeil for his crosses, but take off the target man. We had an opportunity where we had 3 shots in 10 seconds and not one could make it through. I'm fuming because the solutions to the problem are basic. Get a striker in and get the ball to him. Yeah, but there's also the flip side to that, Craze, that everything in the garden isn't terrible either. It's something in between the two, isn't it? Jay says Tom Davies was excellent as he was at Villa. Frank starting to come across as naive to me. Sorry, don't want him sacked, but who would back us against the point in Rodgers once he gets the bullet from Leicester? We know Mashiri would do it. Don't know.
Wolves are buying a striker.
Oh, they're getting Khalad thingy, are they? Another one. Yeah. That means they'll have 4. AD says exactly. Baz shouts about the formation being the issue. Poor, playing well, no cutting edge, chances being created, 19 attempts on Saturday. I still have an issue with the formation though, AD as well, I must say. Jonathan Lickett says, yeah, Khalad's going to Wolves. Bainey says, hey guys, still a big fan of Lampard. I'm still behind him all the way, but still think he's very naive in his tactical decisions and substitutions. Takes too long to make changes that have influenced matches. Takes off players who should have stayed on. I don't know whether he takes too long. I mean, he made changes on 58 minutes on Saturday. So I don't know whether he takes too long. Whether he makes the right changes, that's the one that's up for question, really. Michael says, I genuinely mean this, and I put it on Twitter a couple of days ago. I would admit defeat with McNeil and sell him now. He'd get the money back. Invest it into a player that suits the squad better. Sonny says Frank out, Dyche in by the end of the season. Paddy says, I think one of the main reasons we don't see Mykolenko as much going forward is because Gray never plays the ball to him when he's overlapped him.
But that's not a reason not to keep running.
When Gray loses it, Mykolenko is out of position and exposed. There are times when he gets the ball and doesn't cross it quick enough though. Paul says, why can't I players who train all week and are very well played play a weighted pass between 2 opposition defenders? That was a massive issue on Saturday. Also, the ball over the top was on all day and we didn't exploit it other than the time we scored. Madness. Yeah. Martin Kitney says, why didn't we keep Sims until deadline day? He's not the answer, but at least he would have kept the shape when Rondon went off. Kane says it always is could have, would have, should have with Everton after they never win a game. Can we look at the squad and go by player how poor it is? There are 15 teams better than us in the league. Don't know, I disagree with that, Kane, but there you go. Glenn says, surely any recognised strikers better than Gray, McNeil or Gordon up front? Is that young lad from Coventry where for punts even? What's holding us back from pulling the trigger on a couple of strikers? Are the clubs we are potentially buying from waiting for better offers? I don't know, Glenn. Who knows? Jonathan says we should forget Breuer, sign Deng, Gysi and Branch will cost 35 million. We'd have to sell Gordon first though, wouldn't we? Daniel Sweeney says if you were Southgate not to pick Gordon or Gray to take to the World Cup, who would you pick?
Neither.
Out the 2 though.
Out the 2. Neither.
Okay. Yeah. Phil says no strikers, only vibes.
Do you know if we were looking, if Gordon played to somebody else, like you said before, I wouldn't take a sideways glance at him.
No.
I really wouldn't. Like, this is not me being down on the lad. I just really wouldn't take a sideways glance at him. If someone was offering 50 million quid and Anthony Gordon played for Leeds, I'd be laughing my head off. I'd be like, oh my, take the money and run. I don't know what it is. I just don't see what other people see in Anthony Gordon. I really don't. I just think he's a footballer who's got a few nice little tricks, drops the shoulder, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the actual final thing that you're supposed to do, putting in that thing at the end or setting someone else, he doesn't do it. And that's great. It's fine to say, over the next 3 years he could be amazing. And I agree, he could be. He could do exactly what the likes of someone like Jack Grealish did, where there was one stage where you were like, what is he? What does he do? He went down to the Championship and came back up, and he was a leader and he was brilliant. And that's what Anthony Gordon might do. That the problem with Everton is we don't have 3 years or 2 years to wait. We need a team now, because the Premier League, every team is getting stronger and stronger. It's so evident. Every team is buying decent players, and we're just sitting there twiddling our thumbs going, it'll be alright because we're Everton and we've got this young lad and we think the world of him. That's not the real world to me. That's not the real world. You've got to put the ball in the back of the net, and until we get somebody in, and I said this on Friday, Lampard really disappointed me on Friday with the press conference saying that it was all rosy till Dominic Calvert-Lewin got injured. Well, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. To me, he should have just said, the minute Richarlison went, we've been looking, and we just haven't found that player yet because we have to replace him. That's all he had to say. We need to get somebody in, because at the moment we've won 1 game in 7. That's just not good enough. And then it's that easy to see what the problem is. It's not scoring goals. It's exactly what it was last year, and it's the same. It's even worse this year. It's even worse, and we haven't sorted it out. We've got 10 days, huge 10 days, to get it sorted.
Okay. Ashby Pill says Gray's a better footballer than Gordon. Gang 1 says Gordon's a headless chicken. Luke says no one has offered 50 million now. Damien says 50 million for Gordon's a good price. Liam says totally agree, Ped. Crazy Toffee says Gordon just winds people up. Stephen says sell Gordon, we need goals. Liam says I think anyone sensible sells Gordon for £50 million. Chris says completely agree, Ped. He's completely overrated. Take the blue lenses off and you realise he offers very little. Resonate says I agree with you, Ped. I'd sell Gordon now and get what we need through the door. Liam says it's a pure business decision. Cam says completely agree. I like Frank, but that comment was embarrassing, and if anybody including Frank believe we'd have been okay with just Dom, then they need bouncing. Judd says why sell Gordon? The club think they can afford players. Why sell? Well, if they can afford players, where are they? That's all that you'd say, wouldn't you? Bobby Joe says Ped Gordon is 21 and he's ranked 34th in the world for left wing.
Is he? So why don't we go and buy the fellow who's ranked
1?
Yeah. Like what? How is that a stat? How is that like? What does that mean? Go and buy number 10. Go and buy number 15. They're obviously better. He might be right. It's great that he's got all this potential, and I appreciate that, right? And I'm not singling him out. The problem is, if Everton don't get goals this season, then we are going to be one of the, let's say, I'll be nice here, we're going to be one of the 6th worst teams in the Premier League. Easy if we don't have goals. Dead simple. If we don't have goals in our team, we're not going to be able to pick up enough points by getting 1-0 wins or whatever. For me, I think we need someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net regularly, as well as Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming back, because that's what we needed last season. The evidence is there. You need 2. You need 2 who's going to score 10. I think. Is Gordon going to do that? I don't personally believe he is. So if people believe he is, that's fine. That's your opinion, but I'm not really happy that we've got the 33rd best left winger in the world.
34th.
34th, sorry. Was I making him better than he is then? I don't really care. Those things don't mean anything to me. It's what I see on the pitch, and I don't see a £50 million player, and if someone wants to give us £50 million for him, I will bite their hand off. I don't care. I honestly have no... me and Ned spoke about this last week, and I said it's probably younger people who want to keep him because you've still got heroes. Once you've seen players leave Everton, and they do normally they do absolutely nothing. By the way, you can put it this way: Will Anthony Gordon be an Everton player in 3 years' time? Do you think?
No.
So why? So just take the money now.
Well, to get 50 million, someone has got to bid 50 million.
Yeah.
No one's bid 50 million.
But if Chelsea come back for him, it's going to have to be 50 million, isn't it?
Yeah, I imagine
So
we'll see.
I wouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be ringing Chelsea back going, we'll take that offer you give us last week.
No.
But an offer will
if they come back with that, then you have to consider it, because it can change the way the team is. Otherwise, we just don't sell.
Yeah.
We keep them and we scratch around and hope that we can get someone on loan.
As someone said before, listen, if we've got the money and we don't need to sell,
we haven't got the money.
No, I know, but if we did have the money, then I wouldn't be saying sell. I wouldn't be saying sell whatsoever. But the problem is, it's so obvious that what this team needs, and if we don't have the money to bring that in, then we have to sell somebody, and he's the only one. He's the only one we can sell.
The only one anyone's interested in. So, Cam says, another news, when can we go back on holiday? Suey. Yeah. Ill says Gordon's off to Newcastle, by the way, lads.
Who is?
Gordon. He's not, though, is he? It's 65 million if he's going to a team like Newcastle, or 75 million. 100%. Goes there, then what's the point? Not going to do nothing either. Ruse says, apologies have already been discussed, but I'm not watching the show until tomorrow. Just got to say, how annoying is that?
Hang on. Tomorrow when? Tomorrow here or tomorrow there?
I look at all the teams we should be semi-competing with, and every team is carry threats and can pinch games. Brighton, Welbeck, Gross, Trossard, Palace, Zaha, Elise, Edouard, Ayew, Villa, Watkins, Ings, Buendia, Bailey. Sorry for listing players, but it's sad that almost any of these guys would walk into our team. Phil says, I personally would be gutted if we didn't sell Gordon. He has a lot of potential, but selling him sorts a lot of our issues out with FFP. It's pure profit. Lou says, I wish we'd sack 5 at the back off, full stop. Miko isn't a wing back, doesn't work, especially at home against the newly promoted side. We need 4-3-3. Gray Lead says, Gordon reminds me of Barkley in that they're both thick and there's no proactive thinking occurring. Throw Gray in that as well. John says, I'd sell Gordon and try and buy Tony, but I do think Gordon's one of our best players. Danny says, a lot of comments about the system. I think it works. We need a goal scorer. Fair enough, Dan. I just don't like it. I don't like having two. I'd rather have 2 forwards in it. But that's just me, isn't it? Terry says, Kudus reported as done but was on the bench. The same at Delhi. Would hope both deals are done this week and there'll be a breakthrough on Garnet. I won't hold my breath. They'll feel like it'll all happen on deadline day with a lot of points sacrificed. Yeah. Glenn says, Luca Dean looked poor against Palace. Will we like to get rid of him? Yes or no? Yeah. Kev says, here West Ham fans calling for Moyes to get sacked. Get Lampard out now and bring Moyes in.
Do a swap.
He's lost 9 of the last 12, Moyes, hasn't he? So he's under pressure, like. But yeah. Yeah, there you go. Nice to finishing, because we had to stay here and we're about to do the final word.
Yeah,
so
we've got to do the final word. We've got to do the Fleetwood preview as well. And
hit the like button, by the way. 1,000 of you. It's lazy. It's like having no strikers. But that's up to you. That's on you. That's
if you want strikers,
no,
click the like button.
That's up to them. If they don't want to do it, that's they've got to look in the mirror.
More likes, more strikers.
But
that's what I say anyway. We'll be back live at 5 o'clock on Toffee TV Premier. We'll also be doing the final word on Toffee TV Premier, so why not become a Toffee TV Premier member? Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.